The sound of a baby's cry shattered the sterile silence of the hospital corridor, and Daniel said, "This can't be happening. I never asked for this." His breath came in short bursts, as the nurse whispered his name like a sentence being passed. Emily said, "Daniel. The child is yours," her eyes fixed on the floor as if the weight of the truth pressed her into the tiles. Daniel's chest tightened, sweat running down his temples as the courtroom replayed in his mind. The judge's voice declaring blood had no lies. His friend's laughter echoed from a memory, but now it twisted into a cruel reminder of abandonment. His knees weakened, and the sterile smell of disinfectant stung his throat. Daniel said, "There has to be some mistake," but his trembling voice betrayed the panic ripping through him. The infant's cry rose again, filling the void left by silence, pulling him toward a future he never wanted. He staggered to the doorway where the crib stood like a verdict carved in wood. Daniel whispered, "What do you want from me?" The baby's tiny fingers clenched the blanket, and the world closed in. For a moment, Daniel felt like an intruder in his own life. Fear pressed against his chest like an iron hand, and denial burned on his tongue. The nurse's voice returned, soft but final, "It's already yours." His world fractured on a gasp, and the sound of truth cut deeper than any blade. Daniel staggered back into the hallway, and his breath came shallow, his mind spinning with fragments of betrayal. Emily said, "You can't ignore this anymore." Her words struck with the weight of a hammer. Daniel wanted to run, but the sterile walls closed around him like a trap. His heart pounded with every remembered voice of friends who had once sworn loyalty but had vanished. He muttered, "They'll never forgive me for this." Emily looked at him, her voice breaking. "This isn't about them, it's about her." The baby's cry echoed faintly through the doorway, forcing Daniel closer to a truth he couldn't escape. He dragged his hand across the cold wall, searching for control, whispering, "I can't do this." Emily's silence pressed heavier than judgment. The air grew thick, and time seemed to grind to a halt. Daniel whispered, "I was never meant to be a father." Emily's hands tightened on the bedsheet, her knuckles white. She said, "Neither was I meant to carry this alone." Their voices broke, fragile yet fierce. Memories of friends laughing over drinks stabbed at Daniel, voices now distant, shadows of loyalty that had collapsed under pressure. His knees buckled as he sat on the cold floor, head in his hands. The baby's cry cut through the silence, pulling both of them into its orbit. Daniel said, "Why me?" His voice cracked, as though the weight of destiny had chosen him without consent. Emily's silence hung, both accusation and plea. Daniel rose unsteadily, pressing his palm to the wall for balance. His whisper barely carried, "I can't do this alone." Emily said, "You won't unless you choose to walk away." The challenge in her voice cut through the fog of fear. Daniel's body trembled as though bracing against a storm. The cries of the baby sharpened, louder and urgent, demanding attention. He closed his eyes, inhaling the sterile scent of antiseptic, and muttered, "They'll never stand by me." Emily's reply came sharp, "Then stand by yourself, or stand by her." His chest heaved, the decision looming like an executioner's shadow. The silence after her words roared louder than his doubts. The nurse returned with quiet steps, her voice steady. "Daniel, the paperwork is ready." Daniel froze, the words striking like iron chains. Emily said, "This is the moment." His pulse thundered, each beat drumming the finality of choice. His gaze shifted toward the crib, where the baby's fist reached upward in innocent silence. Daniel's throat burned as he whispered, "I'm not ready." The nurse's reply was calm but unyielding. "None of us ever are." Emily's breath caught, and she whispered, "But she needs you." Daniel's tears blurred the light above into fractured stars. His heart wrestled between escape and surrender, but the weight of silence told him he had already crossed a line. The storm had begun, and nothing would be the same. Daniel sat at the edge of the hospital bed, staring at his trembling hands as the weight of his new reality pressed down like a stone. Emily said, "You can't run from yourself anymore." Her voice cracked, brittle but steady. Daniel muttered, "I was never enough, not for them, not for anyone. His chest heaved with guilt, memories flooding of a childhood filled with absence and broken promises. Emily whispered, "Then be more for her, don't repeat the cycle." His heart recoiled, the idea of fatherhood scraping against his deepest scars. He rubbed his temples, tears threatening to fall, whispering, "I don't know how." Emily's voice softened. "No one does, not at first." He remembered every rejection, every moment of betrayal by friends who abandoned him when his life turned chaotic. The silence around them grew heavy, suffocating, pressing closer until only the baby's steady breath could anchor him. Daniel said, "Why me? Why now?" His voice cracked as if confessing a crime. Emily leaned closer, her words fierce because she chose you by existing. His eyes locked on the crib, and for the first time he didn't look away. The nurse returned with paperwork in her hand, her voice steady. "Daniel, decisions must be made." Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry, whispering, "I don't decide lives." Emily shot him a sharp glance, her tone biting. "You already did, the moment you stayed." Daniel's shoulders slumped, his heart pounding, the reality that no one else would step forward pressing harder. He remembered laughter from his friends echoing, then silence when his life turned messy, their absence now louder than their words had ever been. Daniel whispered, "I'm alone in this." The nurse's calm reply cut through his despair. "She is not alone." Emily said, "And neither are you, unless you choose to be." He pressed the heel of his palm to his forehead, muttering, "I don't know if I can carry this weight." Emily's eyes softened, though her voice remained firm. "You'll carry it because you must." The baby stirred in the crib, soft noises breaking the heavy silence. Daniel stared at the papers, the choice now no longer abstract but carved into reality, waiting for his hand. Daniel sat with his head bowed, staring at the lines on the paper, every word a chain. Emily said, "What are you afraid of? The child or yourself?" His chest tightened as he whispered, "Both." Memories of being abandoned clawed at him, and he feared repeating the same mistakes. Emily's voice softened, though her eyes held fire. "Then break it. Prove you're not them." His hands shook as he gripped the pen, heart hammering in his chest. He looked at the baby's small form, her tiny breath steady, unaware of the war raging around her. He muttered, "She doesn't deserve my failures." Emily whispered, "Then give her your fight." His pulse raced, his body shivering with the pressure of expectation. Every breath tasted like fear, every thought weighed down with doubt. Daniel looked at Emily, her face determined, and he said, "Why do you care so much?" Emily's voice broke, "Because she needs someone who won't run, and I can't do it alone." His hand hovered over the paper, suspended in dread. Daniel dropped the pen and whispered, "I can't, not yet." Emily's eyes burned with frustration, her voice rising. "Then when? When she's grown enough to know you, turned away?" His pulse thundered, sweat rolling down his back, and he snapped, "Don't ask me to be someone I'm not." Emily stood tall, anger etched into her features. "I'm asking you to be someone she needs." The air vibrated with their clash, years of hurt and fear crashing against the fragile hope of the moment. Daniel turned toward the crib, his voice breaking. "What if I ruin her?" Emily's reply came sharp. "What if you save her?" His chest heaved, trembling hands reaching for the edge of the crib as if its wooden frame could anchor him. The baby's soft whimper cut through the storm, her innocence a weight heavier than judgment. Silence lingered, broken only by Daniel's ragged breaths. His mind screamed to run, but his body refused to move. Daniel leaned over the crib, his face hovering inches above the child. His whisper cracked, "I don't know how to love you right." Emily's breath shook behind him as she said, "Start by not leaving." His body trembled as he stared at the baby's small hand, reaching blindly. The air grew heavy, the moment stretching into eternity. Daniel muttered, "Everyone left me when I needed them most." His throat closed around the pain, but Emily's voice softened, "Then don't become them." His tears finally fell, blurring the sight of the infant below. The baby's breath calmed him in strange rhythm, each rise and fall like an anchor. Daniel said, "Maybe this is what saving feels like. Terrifying." Emily stepped closer, placing her hand on his shoulder, whispering, "Terrifying, yes, but not impossible." The weight of fear didn't vanish, but it shifted, becoming something Daniel could carry. For the first time, his knees bent, and he knelt by the crib, surrendering to the truth he could no longer deny. Daniel sat in his small apartment, the silence thick with memories of laughter, now turned into ghosts. His phone buzzed with another message left unread. Friends who once cheered him, now gone. Emily said, "You can't wait for them to return." Daniel muttered, "They left because of her, because of me." He rubbed his face, exhaustion carving shadows into his eyes. Emily replied, "They left because they couldn't face your truth." His chest tightened, fear and anger mixing like poison. He whispered, "I lost them all." The baby's soft cry from the next room pierced his despair, pulling his attention back. He said, "I don't know how to choose her over everyone else." Emily looked at him, her voice low but sharp. "Then don't choose them at all. Choose her." The words sliced deep, stirring both rage and resolve. Daniel's body trembled as he leaned forward, whispering, "If I keep her, I lose the world." Emily's reply echoed, "If you lose her, you lose yourself." Daniel's mother, Margaret, entered without knocking, her face lined with judgment, sharpened by years of silence. Margaret said, "This child will ruin you." Daniel snapped, "She already saved me." His mother's lips tightened, her voice cold, "She is not your responsibility." Emily stood, fists clenched, her voice sharp, "She is his blood, whether you like it or not." Margaret scoffed, her eyes cutting like blades. Blood means nothing when shame is involved. Daniel's chest heaved, the rejection reopening old wounds. He whispered, "You left me once. Now you want me to leave her?" Margaret's silence confirmed more than words could. The room buzzed with tension, thick enough to suffocate. Emily's voice broke the stillness. "If he walks away, it will be because you pushed him, not because he wanted to." Margaret glared, voice dripping venom. "Better he leave now than drown later." Daniel closed his eyes, his voice shaking. "I will not let her drown me. I will learn to swim." Daniel sat at a cafe the next morning, head in his hands, the world outside alive with chatter he no longer belonged to. His friend Jason approached reluctantly, eyes avoiding his. Jason said, "People are talking, Daniel." Daniel muttered, "They always talk, until it's their turn to be judged." Jason leaned forward, voice low, "You can still fix this. Walk away. Start over." Daniel's stomach churned, bile rising with betrayal. He whispered, "You left when I needed you and now you come to tell me to leave her." Jason looked uneasy, his hand tapping nervously on the table. "I'm trying to help," he said, but his tone carried guilt. Daniel shook his head, voice hard. "Help means standing by, not pushing away." Silence fell between them, broken only by the hum of voices around. Jason sighed. "You'll lose everything." Daniel replied, his eyes burning, "Not everything. I still have her." Back at the apartment, Daniel paced the floor, his fists clenching with every step. Emily said, "You can't keep letting their voices guide you." Daniel shouted, "They were my family, my friends. Now they see me as nothing." His voice cracked, the sound raw with pain. Emily stepped closer, voice firm, "Then build a new family with her." He stopped, breathing ragged, staring at the crib where the baby slept peacefully. His whisper broke, "She deserves more than me." Emily's hand gripped his arm, steadying him. "She deserves someone who won't leave. That can be you." His body trembled, but the words clung to him like armor. Daniel said, "Every step I take toward her, I feel them walk further away." Emily whispered, "Then let them walk. You'll have someone walking toward you instead." His eyes locked on the child, and for the first time, he didn't see a burden, but a fragile hope. Daniel sat in silence, holding the baby in his arms for the first time. His hands shook as if carrying the weight of the world. He whispered, "I don't even know if I can keep you safe." Emily said softly, "She doesn't need perfect, Daniel. She needs present." Tears welled in his eyes as he looked at the small face resting against his chest. He whispered, "What if I fail her?" Emily's reply came gentle but firm. "Then you fail trying, not by leaving." His heart pounded as the baby stirred, her tiny hand clutching his shirt. He said, "I never thought I could be this scared of love." Emily's breath caught, her eyes glistening. "That's how you know it matters." Daniel held the child closer, his voice breaking into a vow. "I will not leave you, even if the world leaves me." The silence after felt sacred, a fragile promise carved into the air. The night was heavy, the apartment silent, except for the hum of a streetlight outside. Emily stood by the window, her voice sharp. "Daniel, there's something you don't know." His chest tightened, unease crawling up his spine. He asked, "What now, Emily?" Her hand shook as she pressed it against the glass, her whisper trembling. "The child isn't who you think she is." Daniel froze. His breath caught in his throat, a cold wave washing over him. He muttered, "What do you mean?" The judge said, "The blood." Emily cut him off, tears streaking her face. "It wasn't your test. It was his." The words struck like thunder, shattering the fragile resolve Daniel had built. His eyes burned, fists clenching as anger flared. "You lied to me," Emily cried. "I lied to protect you." The baby stirred in the crib, her small cry breaking the silence like a scream in the dark. Daniel's voice dropped, dangerous and broken. "Protect me from what?" Emily's reply was barely audible. "From the truth that would destroy you." Daniel's voice thundered in the room. "Whose test was it, Emily?" His anger trembled beneath raw betrayal. Emily's shoulders shook, her eyes wide with fear. It was Jason's. The name cracked through the air like a whip. Daniel staggered back, his body trembling as his mind spiraled. He whispered, "Jason, my friend?" Emily sobbed. "He begged me to stay quiet. He thought it was better this way." Daniel's heart splintered, visions of loyalty twisted into betrayal. He shouted, "Better for who?" "For him." "For you?" Emily's reply came broken. "For all of us, for the child." The baby cried louder, as though the truth itself tore through the walls. Daniel's knees nearly buckled, rage surging like fire. "You both let me carry this lie." Emily stepped forward, desperate. "I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you'd break." His eyes burned, voice cutting like glass. "I'm breaking now, Emily. I'm breaking because of you." Jason entered without knocking, his face pale, guilt dripping from every movement. Daniel's rage ignited, his voice raw. "Tell me it's not true." Jason's jaw tightened, his silence speaking louder than words. Daniel shouted, "Say it!" Jason's voice cracked. "She's mine, Daniel. I didn't want you to know." The air shattered with betrayal, Daniel's body trembling, his breath uneven as his world collapsed. Emily sobbed behind him. "I begged him to stay away tonight." Daniel turned, his fists shaking. "You both conspired to bury me in lies." Jason stepped forward, hands raised. "I thought I was protecting you from pain." Daniel laughed bitterly. "Broken, you didn't protect me, you destroyed me." Jason's eyes glistened, regret carving into his face. "I loved her too much to confess." Daniel's chest heaved, fury and despair clashing, his voice tearing the room apart. "You loved her, then why did you give her away?" Silence bled into the room, heavier than screams. Daniel's voice cracked into silence, his body trembling as he pointed at Jason. "You abandoned her, and now you come here with truth like it's a gift?" Jason's shoulders slumped, shame weighing heavy. "I thought you could give her what I couldn't." Daniel's chest heaved, fury twisting his words. "You thought wrong. You gave me lies, not a child." Emily sobbed, her voice desperate. "He was afraid, Daniel. Afraid of being a father, afraid of losing everything." Daniel glared, his voice raw. "And what about me? Was I just a pawn to ease your guilt?" Jason's lips trembled, whispering, "I didn't mean to ruin you." Daniel shouted, "You didn't ruin me, you ruined her." The baby's cry pierced the tension, her innocence reminding them all of the stakes. Emily dropped to her knees, her voice shaking. "Stop, please stop, this is killing her." Daniel's voice dropped, dark and final. "No, Emily, it's already killed me." The room fell into silence, broken only by Daniel's uneven breaths. He stepped toward the crib, his trembling hands reaching for the child. He whispered, "You are not mine, but you are all I have." Emily sobbed quietly, her voice trembling. "Daniel, please don't leave her." Jason's voice cracked with regret. "I can claim her if you walk away." Daniel turned, his eyes blazing. "You had your chance, and you walked." He lifted the baby into his arms, her small body settling against his chest. His tears dripped onto her blanket, his voice trembling like a vow. "I will raise you, even if truth tried to tear us apart." Emily whispered, "You don't have to do this alone." Daniel's face hardened, his voice steady. "I was alone long before she came, but now I have something worth fighting for." The silence after was thick with broken hearts and fragile hope, a moment suspended between ruin and redemption. The living room had become a battlefield, tension vibrating in the air. Daniel's face burned with fury, his fists shaking as he shouted, "You broke me with lies, and now you expect me to forgive?" Emily's sobs filled the room, her voice shaking. "I was trying to save you, Daniel." Jason's eyes darkened with guilt, whispering, "I didn't want her to live knowing she was a mistake." Daniel lunged forward, his voice ripping through the silence. "She was never a mistake." His words cracked the walls, rage mingling with pain so sharp it felt unendurable. Emily cried, "We all failed her." Daniel's chest heaved, his voice breaking. "Then let me be the one who doesn't fail." His knees buckled, tears spilling freely, yet his voice thundered, "I will not surrender her." The baby's cry rose, desperate and piercing, forcing silence to fall like a hammer. Daniel's roar cut the silence. "I will not give her up." Jason snapped back, voice sharp, "She's mine by blood." Daniel stepped forward, trembling but unyielding. "Blood means nothing if it abandons." Emily stood between them, shouting, "Stop, both of you! You're destroying what little she has left." Jason's chest rose, fury clashing with shame. "I can fix this if you let me." Daniel's jaw clenched, his voice cold. "You had your chance, Jason. You gave her up the moment you walked away." Emily's sobs broke through. "This fight isn't for her. It's for your pride." Daniel's breath shuddered, his eyes wet, whispering, "No, it's for her future." Jason fell silent, his fists trembling, guilt warring with rage. The baby's cry shook the room louder than their fury, a reminder of what truly mattered. Daniel's breath came in ragged bursts as he whispered, "I won't let her feel the emptiness I felt." Jason muttered, "You don't understand what it cost me." Daniel snapped, voice sharp, "It cost her everything." Emily's voice cracked, "Please, she's just a child, she doesn't need your war." Daniel's eyes locked on Jason, trembling but resolute. "I'll fight anyone who tries to take her." Jason's body stiffened, his lips trembling with words unsaid. Emily shouted, "Then what happens when she grows up and knows this truth?" Daniel's face broke, tears spilling as he whispered, "She'll know I stayed." His words hung like iron, unshakable, as silence crushed them all. Jason turned away, voice breaking, "Then you'll live with the lie, not me." Daniel shook his head, his vow unbroken. "No, I'll live with her." Jason collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands, whispering, "I don't deserve her." Daniel glared, voice low but sharp, "Then stop trying to claim her." Emily leaned against the wall, whispering, "We're all broken, but she deserves wholeness." Jason raised his head, tears streaking his face. "You'll never let me back in, will you?" Daniel's voice cracked but held firm, "Not if it means risking her heart." Emily's eyes softened as she looked at Daniel. "You've chosen the harder road." Daniel nodded, his chest heavy. "I'd rather carry the weight than leave her with nothing." The baby stirred, her soft breath calming the chaos, her presence commanding silence. The war inside the room quieted, but the wounds remained raw, bleeding beneath every word left unsaid. Daniel knelt beside the crib, his tears falling silently onto the wooden rail. His whisper broke the air, "They can take everything from me, but not you." Emily moved closer, her hand resting on his shoulder, voice tender, You've already given her more than anyone else. Jason stood in the shadows, his voice trembling. If you raise her, she'll grow up strong. Stronger than me. Daniel pressed his forehead against the crib, whispering, she will grow up loved. That's all she'll ever need. The baby shifted, her tiny fingers curling, as if holding on to his promise. Emily's tears fell, her voice breaking. Maybe this is redemption, Daniel. He lifted his head, eyes fierce through the tears, whispering the vow that sealed everything. They tried to break me, but I'll break for her instead. Silence filled the room, final and unbearable. A climax forged in pain and love. The storm had passed, leaving the apartment quiet and heavy with aftermath. Daniel sat on the couch, his arms wrapped around the baby, her soft breathing calming his chaos. Emily stood near the window, her face pale but her eyes steadier than before. She whispered, you stayed. Daniel nodded faintly, voice low. I stayed because she needed someone who wouldn't walk away. His chest ached, but for the first time the pain was mixed with a fragile strength. Jason lingered in the doorway, shame pulling his gaze to the floor. He said, you could have left her with me. Daniel's jaw tightened, his reply sharp. You already did. Emily's shoulders dropped, exhaustion finally replacing her defiance. The silence hummed between them, carrying the weight of forgiveness not yet spoken. Daniel whispered into the child's hair, I'll take the burden, I'll take the scars. But I won't let her grow up believing she wasn't worth it. Daniel rose from the couch, rocking the baby gently as he walked across the room. His voice was soft but certain. I don't care if the world laughs, if they all leave. I'll remain. Emily stepped closer, her hand brushing the baby's blanket. She said, she'll never know what you gave up for her. Daniel shook his head, whispering, she doesn't need to know. She just needs to feel loved. Jason's voice cracked, I should be the one holding her. Daniel turned, eyes blazing with both fury and pity, but you're not. You chose fear over her. Jason's face twisted, regret shadowing every word he couldn't say. Emily sighed, her voice breaking, then let it end here. No more lies, no more chains. Daniel kissed the baby's forehead, his tears falling silently. This is where it begins, not where it ends. The following morning, pale sunlight streamed through blinds, painting the room in fractured light. Daniel sat at the table with Emily, their silence broken only by the baby's soft coos. Emily whispered, she doesn't know the war fought for her. Daniel smiled faintly, a tired curve of lips. She doesn't need to know, she just needs peace. Emily's voice cracked. You've lost so much. Daniel replied, his tone firmer. I've gained her. Jason entered quietly, dark circles under his eyes, his voice low. I'll leave if that's what you want. Daniel's gaze hardened, but his reply was calm. Leave if you can stand by her. Stay only if you can. Jason hesitated, torn between regret and responsibility, before lowering his head in silence. Emily whispered, the truth burned us all, but maybe it's the fire that will forge us. Daniel held the baby close, whispering, then let it forge her world brighter. Daniel walked into the hospital one last time, baby in his arms, Emily close by. The nurse looked at him, her voice soft. You came back. Daniel nodded, voice calm. I came to tell you she's going home. The nurse smiled faintly, relief softening her tired features. Emily touched Daniel's arm, whispering, you're stronger than you think. Jason trailed behind them, silent, his guilt carried like a shadow. Daniel looked at him briefly, his voice firm. If you stay, it's on her terms, not yours. Jason lowered his gaze, whispering, I'll try. The nurse leaned down, brushing the baby's cheek, whispering, she has what every child deserves, a chance. Daniel's throat tightened, whispering back, I'll give her more than a chance. I'll give her a father. Emily's tears fell freely as she whispered, and maybe in saving her, you saved yourself. That evening the apartment was quiet, filled only with the baby's gentle breaths. Daniel sat by the crib, his hand resting lightly on its wooden edge. Emily sat nearby, her voice soft. Do you regret it? Daniel shook his head, whispering, I regret nothing that keeps her here. His heart felt heavy but alive, a strange peace settling inside. Jason stood near the doorway, silent, his presence no longer hostile but uncertain. Daniel turned to him, voice steady. "If you want to be part of her life, earn it. Don't disappear again." Jason nodded faintly, tears in his eyes whispering, "I'll try." Emily leaned against the wall, whispering, "Shall grow knowing she was chosen, not abandoned." Daniel looked at the baby, his voice cracking into a vow. "And shall grow knowing she was loved, even when the world walked away." The silence that followed was no longer heavy. It was sacred. The night air was still, the apartment dim except for the soft lamp by the crib. Daniel sat close, watching the baby's chest rise and fall, her tiny breath steady. Emily leaned against the wall, exhaustion written across her face, whispering, "You made it through." Daniel's voice cracked, barely. His heart felt carved open, yet in the quiet he found something that resembled peace. Jason lingered near the doorway, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his voice low. "I don't expect forgiveness." Daniel's gaze hardened, but his words carried calm resolve. "This isn't about you, it's about her." The silence settled heavier, each of them tethered by choices that could never be undone. Emily whispered, "She'll grow up knowing she mattered." Daniel's hand brushed the crib, his whisper trembling like a vow. "She'll grow up knowing I never walked away." The weight of truth lingered, heavy but unbreakable. Morning light broke through the blinds, casting golden streaks across the room. Daniel held the baby close, his voice soft. "They'll talk. They'll judge. But they won't decide for me." Emily's smile flickered, fragile but proud. "You chose her, and that's enough." Jason shifted uneasily, voice cracked. "You'll face the world alone if you keep her." Daniel's chest rose, breath steady. "I've always faced the world alone. But now, I won't be empty doing it." Emily touched the baby's hand, whispering, "She doesn't know it yet, but she's your anchor." Daniel's tears fell as he kissed the baby's forehead, whispering, "She's not just my anchor. She's my reason." The silence was filled with light, the kind that breaks through after storms, fragile but true. Later that day, Daniel walked through the park with Emily at his side, the baby in his arms. The whispers of strangers followed them, their eyes filled with judgment. Daniel muttered, "Let them stare." Emily said, "They don't know your story." His jaw tightened, voice calm but firm. "They don't need to. She'll know it." A group of old friends passed by, their laughter falling silent as they recognized him. One muttered under their breath, "He's ruined himself." Daniel kept walking, his grip tightening on the baby. Emily whispered, "You're stronger than their words." Daniel's chest swelled with fragile pride, whispering to the baby, "One day you'll hear what they say. And you'll also hear me. Only one voice will matter." That evening, Daniel sat at the table, the baby asleep nearby, Emily across from him. Jason joined quietly, his face pale with exhaustion. Jason whispered, "I'll always regret what I did." Daniel looked up, eyes cold but steady. "Regret won't raise her." Jason's voice cracked, "Then let me help." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Help means showing up, not apologizing." Emily's voice softened. "Maybe forgiveness doesn't come in words, but in actions." Daniel looked at the crib, the baby's tiny form peaceful. His voice steadied. "She'll never know betrayal the way I did. That ends here." Silence settled heavy, but not hopeless, just fragile, waiting for proof. In the quiet of midnight, Daniel stood over the crib, his shadow long across the wall. He whispered, "They tried to take you from me, but they failed." Emily stirred awake on the couch, her voice soft. "Daniel, come rest." He shook his head, tears shining in his eyes. "This is where I belong." His hand brushed the crib railing, his breath trembling. "They'll know I chose you." He leaned close, whispering into the silence, "They'll know I stayed when they walked away." The baby shifted, her small fingers curling as though clutching his vow. Daniel's tears fell freely, his final words piercing the night. "They will never take you from me, not while I breathe." The room fell into silence, not heavy but eternal, a final blow etched in love and defiance.